game theory is all about decision making and strategies you need to have in order to get to those decisions. In this video, I'll try to explain the concept of game theory using an example. Rabia and Saqib are just two arbitrary people, and they are partners in crime, and they were out trying to rob a bank, but unfortunately they get caught by the police. They weren't smart enough, so yeah, now police want them to confess to their crime. And the situation now is that they are held separately in jail, and police offer them a deal. And what that deal is, it is stated here: if one confesses and the other person doesn't, then the person confessing will be free to go and the other person will be imprisoned for 10 years. However, if both people confess, then 5-year jail for each, and if neither of them confesses, then 2-year jail for each. So I want you to pause the video right now and just do your mathematics or whatever you want to do in order to help either of them person. For example, I've just stated here Rabia. Can you help Rabia to decide whether to confess or not? You can just suggest a way by just whatever the way you want to work the problem like, but this is how actually game theory works. Whether to confess or not, this is the decision to make, and I want you to pause the video and then comment down what you actually reached in your working. So whether she should confess or not, and when you're done you can just unpause the video and see the solution. Okay, let me just explain how you can just actually reach to a solution here. So maybe I would want to erase some of the text here so that I have more space to work. And okay, so here I want to just first of all depict the information provided in the problem in a tabular form, because that's how I feel it convenient for me. So I've just made a small table here, and maybe I would want to erase some of the text from above because I want to label the table here, right? So for example, I'm using R for Rabia and S for Saqib. So I want to write here confess and not confess. Confess and not confess. So with this you can actually see whether the output or outcomes for each of them decisions are really in favor of them or not. So I'm going to, okay, wait a second, I'm going to be using red color for Rabia and green color for Saqib. Right. So according to the deal, if Saqib confesses and Rabia confesses, then both of them are going to be in jail for 5 years each. So 5. However, if Rabia confesses and Saqib doesn't confess, then Rabia will be in jail for 0 years. That means she just leaves immediately. And Saqib will be in jail for 10 years. And if Rabia doesn't confess and Saqib confesses, then Saqib will be in jail for 0 years and Rabia will be in jail for 10 years. And in case where neither of them confess, then Rabia will be in jail for 2 years and Saqib will be in jail for 2 years as well. So now I've just depicted all the information provided in the problem in a tabular way, so that you can see it in a more convenient manner. So like it is clear to see that if both of them trust, then the best output for both of them is going to be not confess, because if Saqib doesn't confess, Rabia doesn't confess, then they will both be out of the jail in 2 years. So if they trust each other, if they really like care about each other, then they should not confess. However, you can see that if they do not trust each other, then it is always beneficial for them to confess, because let's look at the problem from Rabia's perspective. If Rabia is really not trusting Saqib, so he can assume Saqib to not confess. First of all, we can look into the problem from both of the angles. So given that Saqib doesn't confess, then for Rabia, if Saqib doesn't confess and Rabia doesn't confess as well, then she has to be in jail for 2 years. However, if she confesses, then she just gets out of the jail immediately. So it is beneficial for her to confess. And Now let's look at the other angle or other possibility of this problem. If Saqib just confesses, then if Rabia just doesn't confess, she has to be in jail for 10 years, and if she confesses, then she has to be in jail for 5 years. So once again, you can see it is beneficial for her to confess. So in both of the cases, whether Saqib confesses or doesn't confess, it is always beneficial for Rabia to be in to get out of jail by just confessing. So it is always beneficial for her to confess. And guess what? Saqib is just going to look into this problem the same way if he's intelligent enough, or like, okay, we are assuming both of them to be equally intelligent and not trusting each other in this case. So he will also make a diagram like that, and he will also realize that whether Rabia confesses or doesn't confess, it is always beneficial for him to confess, because he's always going to be spending less time in the jail if he just confesses as compared to if he doesn't confess. So this really draws us to a conclusion that it is always beneficial to confess regardless of what other person is doing. So we reach to a conclusion that Rabia should confess. So the purpose of the whole example and working the mathematics behind it was just to achieve a conclusion, and more importantly understand the concept of Nash equilibrium. Equilibrium. I hope I wrote the spellings right. So Nash equilibrium is the key concept that forms the basis of game theory, that really is important because in decision making you always want to know if you want to make the decision for your personal benefit or you want to think of the benefit of the team. And Nash equilibrium really establishes a middle way that is neither the worst nor the best. In this case, the best could have been you just stay in jail for 2 years, and the worst was that you stay in jail for 10 years. But Nash equilibrium, because of game theory and Nash equilibrium, you achieve to an answer that is 5 years in jail, both of you. So this is neither the best nor the worst case. So Nash equilibrium really establishes a middle way that helps you to decide a way that is neither worst nor best for you. So it is risk free. If you are not a risky player, you're always relying on Nash equilibrium. If you're a risky player, you're going against the Nash equilibrium. So it is really important to understand game theory and especially Nash equilibrium concepts if you want to be a better decision maker. It will really help you in the sports that you're doing in your daily life or many other departments of your life that require decision making. So I hope it was beneficial to you. It might help you in your life, and if you really got fascinated by this concept, then you better share it with your friends and stay tuned for more videos. So thank you.